Good morning. Is it? Yes, I keep saying good
Salam.
morning, good evening to you, Olivia. Good morning
Thank
to
you.
Akila. We
Good
always have to talk about the
morning.
time zones. So let's
Yes.
just get that out of the way. So
Right.
Olivia, you're in 7:30 p.m.
Yes.
Saturday night,
Yes.
3:30 a.m. Sunday morning,
Oh.
9:30 a.m. South
Yeah.
Korea.
Yeah, we
Wow.
time traveling. We
We're
time
time
traveling.
traveling, okay?
Seriously.
Yes, we are.
Awesome. Okay, so basically we're going to start, and this podcast is about trauma and stress, and we have with us today Olivia Hinds, who is my niece. And I'm proud to say that. And let me just talk a little bit about you, Olivia, very quickly. So, as you said, you graduated from Andrews University. You have your bachelor's in social work and master's in social work, which is awesome. And then you worked as a legal advocate for children, and also working with domestic violence.
Yes,
right?
domestic violence victims. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Then you said here that you worked at the Oakland Psychiatric Center as a therapist, working with children from ages 5 to 18 and families dealing with behavioral and mental health issues. And now you're in Georgia, moved to Georgia. You're working as a school social worker for the Newton County Public Schools, and working with families and community partners to assist families with their basic needs and their mental health issues.
Yes.
And the most important thing, a wife and a mommy of one little boy and a soon to come little girl.
Yes, right.
That's important.
My real
stuff
job.
Right there. Real job. Yes, your full-time job. So this is Olivia with us. So awesome. And we're going to talk about trauma. Yeah.
When I heard you say Georgia, I just felt like I had to say Georgia.
Yes.
Georgia.
Sing it, girl. Sing it. Yes.
But welcome, Olivia. I mean, welcome to our podcast.
Me.
We're so happy to have your beautiful energy here with us. And
we
were chatting quite a lot before we started this. We were like, let's stop. We need to record.
With some gems.
Yeah, we had some gems going. We're going to keep that going. But like the context of this podcast is, knowing that our young people, our children, are in such an amazing position in their lives where they can find their healing paths, and so we're going through so much. We're going through a pandemic. It's year 2, year 3. I can't even
endemic
tell
now. It's an endemic now.
Endemic,
yes.
Endemic.
Yeah.
There's like news of war, which is so heavy, There's so many crises happening all over the world. And, you said, like, let's be a part of the solution, which I love, Olivia.
Yes.
Like, we can do things to spread awareness, spread knowledge. And so, that's the context of what we're talking about. And so that leads me to my first question. What are some common ways to recognize when a child is going through stress or anxiety?
So that's a really vast question, because different age groups react differently to stress and anxiety, right?
Yes.
So because I'm a school social worker, I have multiple schools. I have elementary, I have middle school, and I have high school. So I get to see those different reactions when it comes to those things. So now my elementary schools, what my little babies do is they act out. So temper tantrums, throwing things, crying, anger issues. You'll see that a lot with the younger ones. Now in regards to middle school, it's more, it starts to become more so of an attention seeking thing. So when they're stressed out or something, they do something to get attention. Now, unfortunately, unfortunately now nowadays what children are doing in the middle schoolers is self-harm. It's something that they say that it relieves the stress, it relieves attention, or it gets attention from, the person that they're not getting attention from at home in order to, get a reaction out of somebody. and we see not just self-harming, but that's when our suicidal ideation start as well in the middle school into the high school. So there are our children nowadays, I've come to realize, don't have the proper coping skills, and they act out in a negative way instead of a positive way. Right. So that's what we're seeing a lot nowadays. And that's what I see when it comes to stress and anxiety.
So Olivia, you're mentioning like the right coping skills, right? How can kids get these coping skills? Where do they get these tools from to cope with the different stages of their lives?
Well, so, it starts at the home. Unfortunately, a lot of children's homes nowadays are not, it's not the regular home life. There's not a mom, there's not a dad, there's not, and at home, sometimes maybe the older sisters the older siblings are raising the younger siblings, so they don't even have time to take care of themselves. So they find different avenues, of how to deal with their stress, but they don't know how because nobody's teaching them. So I mean, there are a lot of different ways that kids can get the help they need, but they don't have the access to it because they don't know who to ask, they don't know where to look, they just don't know what to do. There are different apps, even like apps now on the phones where you can download it and deal with your anxiety and your stress, and you press this button, like a sound comes out, or we have crisis lines where if you're feeling that anxiety and that stress, or you have that suicidal ideation, you can call somebody and talk to them. I mean, there are so many different ways, but a lot of kids, they just don't know, so they talk to their friends, and their friends like, well, this is what I did to relieve the stress, and peers are talking to peers instead of the kids talking to the adults who actually know what to do.
Yes, but Olivia, do adults know what to do? Like what should adults do when they kind of noticing, oh, my child is feeling stressed out, anxious, and I see she's not communicating with me as an adult, or as a mom or dad or an aunt or a teacher? How do we approach, I don't want to say a problem, but an issue that may kind of develop into something serious?
Yeah.
Well, it starts with rapport. I mean, kids are not going to talk to you unless they trust you. So it starts with, I mean, if that child doesn't feel comfortable talking to you, find the person that the child is comfortable with and say, hey, I've noticed this behavior in this child. Do you mind having a conversation with this kid? If they're comfortable, if you see a good relationship with their parents, have a conversation with mom and dad. If they feel comfortable talking to you, sit and talk with them and saying, hey, what's going on? I mean, it all starts with rapport. Kids will open up if they feel, that you're being genuine and that you can relate to them in that sort of way. They're not going to talk to you if, you're just like an adult scolding them, like, stop behaving that way, or, stop talking that, you know what I mean? So rapport is the number one thing that you need to have when it comes to kids and teenagers. It's just the most important thing.
When you say rapport, do you mean also like building trust?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Building.
Sorry, for parents who struggle with this, because I feel like we mentioned there's like a generational thing going on. It's like your parents told you stop doing that, and all these like shouting at you, and didn't build that rapport. So as adults, we have this subconscious patterns. We're not even thinking about how we're talking to our kids or what we're saying, but we kind of shifting the shaming kind of approach, instead of saying we're a team, like, let's work together, let's figure out what's going on. So for a parent who grew up with this generational burden of shaming and blaming, how can that parent change their attitude or perspective?
Yeah. So, it's a good question. Parents have to start that, they have to acknowledge that there's a problem. If they don't acknowledge that there's a problem, then nothing's going to be changed. So the parent in themselves has to be like, well, I can't react to it this way because it didn't work for me and it didn't work for my sibling. When are we going to stop this? When are we going to stop this, trend of just shutting things down? Once a parent accepts the fact that, okay, this is something that I have to work on in order for me to reach my child, then that's where the healing can begin. But parents have to make the decision themselves to be like, you know what, this is something that I have to work on. And again, that's with them going to counseling, them figuring out, what their triggers and what they, what affects them and why they reacted to certain things for so long this way. So again, it starts at the home from parents down.
I think, and just a thought was coming in my mind is that a lot of things with issues around mental health, as you guys have both been saying, there's a lot of shame. People they don't see it as health, right? They say, if it's a physical thing, I got a cut, I'll go to the doctor, I'll get it, whatever, I can deal with it, I can see it. But when something's psychological or mental health issues, people just, as you said, push it under the rug, pretend it doesn't exist. And that concept of people going to therapy or talking to someone is like, why would you talk to someone about your problems? So that I think is one of the biggest factors that hold people back from actually getting the help and actually finding ways of dealing with it. So that's unfortunate.
It is.
And there is still I feel like there is still a big stigma with therapy from maybe the older generation. And I'm not trying to separate here, but there's still this big stigma that something like you must be mental or crazy, and I wish it wasn't like that, because even people who think that they're healthy or they have no problems still have things that they need to unpack or air out or discover. So
absolutely.
Definitely. Olivia, what would you say is a solution to destigmatize therapy and asking for help?
Oh, what is the solution? I don't know if there is a solution, because every person is different. Every family is different. Every culture is different. You would have to change, that before you even get to the part of them feeling comfortable with, the idea of, having someone to talk to is a good thing. But what I would just say is that, in the helping profession, we just have to promote more and just, make people more comfortable with the fact that, having a conversation with somebody doesn't mean that you're crazy. It doesn't mean, that the world is coming to an end, but it's okay to talk to somebody, and just having those conversations regularly over and over and over to desensitize people from, from what it was, back in the day where people were just like, oh, you're going to therapist? Oh, you're a psycho. But now mental health.
So sad.
Right. But now mental health is so, I guess my problem now is that now mental health is it's really out there, especially now that everyone's been kind of locked down and at home for so long. Now everyone has a diagnosis. You know what I mean? Everyone has an issue. Everyone has a problem. So that goes into another aspect of, okay, well, are you just coming to me just because everyone wants to talk to somebody, but is there a real issue, or are you just, saying that you want to just, come just talk to somebody, which again is perfectly fine. You know what I mean? So I think it's becoming more and more, people are becoming more and more comfortable with the idea of therapy and with the idea of talking to somebody, especially now that we've been locked down for so long. Now everything is opening up and things like that. But when the world shut down, you had no idea what to do. So
true. That's true.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me segue. Yeah. Let me segue into the next question. Do you think that meditation could help children deal with stress?
Okay. So I would say meditation may work for the older ones. Okay. So I would say meditation, older, middle school, 7th and 8th, maybe I wouldn't even say 7th, 8th grade and up, because they can understand and comprehend more. For the little ones, I don't think meditation will work as much because they have the attention span of nothing. So, so you know, they bounce from wall to wall to wall to wall. So I would say that meditation would work much better for the older ones because they can comprehend and understand more and actually focus on what you're doing.
Right. Whereas kindergarten will be like, okay, I'm going to run now.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, that wouldn't even work with the kindergarten.
Okay, so grade 8 and okay, cool. All right.
Yeah.
Good. Akila.
I mean, I have so many questions, and
I
have so many follow-up questions. I love that, you know, we're talking to someone who this is your field, and we like before we started recording, we were talking about the generational traumas, and we're talking about how to break those cycles, and especially for older kids who are in their teens. I mean, this is the time when you trying to find your identity, you know, and you want to look to your family, but and then you touched upon the fact that COVID has also created this like zone where we had so much time to be at home that now we could also mistakenly diagnose ourselves you know, with depression or anxiety, but it could be a situational anxiety and depression.
Exactly. Instead of, you know, it actually, you know, being, you know, the depression that you've been working through, it could be, like you said, situational. Like, I'm going through this situation, I'm struggling, and that's a normal thing. Like, a lot of people just don't, I feel like a lot of people have forgotten, like, it's okay to be stressed out because that's natural. It's okay to sometimes feel sad because that's natural. It doesn't mean that you're depressed. It doesn't mean that you're anxious all the time. The world can be, you know, you can have anxiety about certain things. You can be sad about certain things. It's just knowing how to deal with those, you know, feelings and those emotions and working through them. The problem is, and I feel like we have failed our children. And this is just my personal opinion. I feel like we just failed this generation. Just because, you know, when they're younger, I mean, especially this generation, we taught them everyone's a winner and everyone gets a gold star. And, you know, you can have the world as long as you just, you know, you have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's not reality. Like, that's not reality. We didn't teach them how to fail. We didn't teach them how to deal with failure. We didn't teach them how to, you know, if you lose a game, guess what? That's okay. Like, you're going to lose sometimes. Like, you're going to lose, but guess what? You practice and you work harder, and the next time they'll be better. And if you fall, you get back up and you do it again. We didn't teach them that. We taught them that everyone's a winner. That's not reality. So that's why they're having such a hard time dealing with when they fail a test or when they don't get accepted to some, like, especially like my theme school, my you know, my high schoolers, you know, they're getting ready to go out to college or whatever. I mean, if these kids fail like a test or don't do well, it gets to the point where they're devastated to the point where they just shut down, suicidal ideation, try to hurt themselves because they just don't know how to deal with that stress. Like, that's the problem nowadays. It's crazy.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
100%. I mean, I heard you say that, like, kids don't know how to deal with emotions. Is that right? Is that right? So, like, if you could just give us some insight into how to cope with difficult emotions, I think that would be super helpful. Like, let's say I failed a test or I didn't get into the school that I wanted to go to. What's the process of telling a kid, okay, how do we help them? How do we guide them through those difficult emotions?
Right. I think it just starts with, first of all, you allow them to feel that pain. Don't allow them to dismiss it. You know, be like, oh, just dust it off your shoulders and forget it. Let them go through that emotion. Sit there with them. Let them cry. Let them express to you how they're feeling. Once they're done, you say, okay, so I understand that you're disappointed. I understand that this is not what you wanted, you know, but guess what? There's a whole world out there of different opportunities. And, you know, or this situation, it may have not gone well this time, but next time it just may go better. You just have to try again. Giving them that reassuring conversation to say, hey, it's okay. Like, I understand that you're disappointed because life has disappointing. I mean, things happen that are disappointing in life, and that is okay.
Yeah.
Like saying to them that it is okay. Like, it's not the end of the world, because that's what they think in their head. It's the end of the world. I'm done. I had no other options. You know, there is other options. You can definitely try again. You can definitely go this route. You can go that route. You can, so having them understand that it's not the end of the world, having them understand that, listen, you just try again. Try again. There's nothing wrong with failing and trying until you succeed. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
I love
that. So that's what I would suggest.
I think that's interesting because, as you mentioned, Olivia, that you know, this concept of, okay, you're a winner, which is, I mean, fine to say that, but also to say that failure is not failure. Failure is a process. It's learning. And, you know, you're going through steps and stages, and life is, you know, a wave of moving up and down, and you just ride the wave as best as you can. Exactly. But as you said, if someone's telling you all the time, yay, 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 and then all of a sudden you fall on your face, right? And then
you're going to have a nervous breakdown.
You're going to have a nervous breakdown. So it's just learning to ride the wave. Yeah, that's key. That's key.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also like what you said, like, don't let them repress the emotion, let them experience the life cycle of that emotion, you know?
Right. Because if they don't, sorry to cut you off, but if they don't experience that emotion, they'll never learn how to deal with it.
Right.
So you can't shut it down. Let them go. Even my little one, even my 1-year-old, he's starting with his tantrums and, whatever. I let him go through his tantrums. And then I sit down and say, okay, so are you good? Are we okay? Do you want to talk about it? Let's talk about it. I mean, he can't, he doesn't comprehend, fully what's happening yet, because he's still really young. But even at that age, you have to start doing that with your kids, so they understand, okay, I can be upset because it's a natural emotion. Anger, sadness, happiness, being excited. I mean, those are natural emotions. Right. But they have to learn how to deal with those, negative emotions when they come up, because it's natural. Yes. I mean, you can't tell your kid not to get angry or not to get sad, because they're going to. But but you have to guide them in order for them to come out on top.
That's awesome.
I think that's incredible. Like, I love what you say. And I'm also thinking a lot of adults, I've seen them say, stop crying, don't cry, or don't cry. But even if you say it in a loving way, you're still shutting down the process of that emotions. And sometimes we don't realize how much power our words have, Right. Because now that person is internalizing it as crying is shameful. I shouldn't cry. So whenever I feel like crying, I have to just suppress it.
Right, exactly. And those emotions should not be suppressed. Like, everyone gets sad, everyone gets upset, everyone gets frustrated. It's a natural. You just you have to learn how to deal with it. I think we've forgotten as a society that those things are natural. Exactly. We just forgot how to teach it, how to get through it. Especially, I just feel like, we really haven't taught this generation coming up. We really haven't taught them that, and that's unfair to them.
Yes. It's so true. It's so true. And emotions that are not dealt with turn into sicknesses that become physical. They manifest in the physical.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know someone who's always repressed their emotions, and then they end up having these ulcers. Why? Yep. Because your body is reacting to the fact that you're repressing this feeling and this stress and anxiety, and then it has to react. So as much as you try to ignore it, it'll come out.
Absolutely. One way or another, it's coming out.
Coming out one way or the other.
Either through you or through your body.
Your body. I think, you know what, I just realized that you pretty much answered the last question we talked about, and let me just make sure we have it, which is the tips and techniques for educators, for parents, how to deal with stress. And you basically said it, which is expressing it, dealing with it, talking through it. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's definitely just You can't avoid it like it's not there. Can't avoid it like the plague. Deal with it. It's okay to deal with those emotions. It's okay to deal, and it doesn't mean that it's. And again, it doesn't mean that, okay, well, you're sad, so you're depressed now. So now you have to go on medication, you have to go to a therapist, you have to go. Right. It doesn't mean all of that either. Like you said, it may be, it may be situational. You may be just having a hard time going through something, and you just have to deal with that. And that is okay as well. There are different avenues to when it comes to your emotions, but you have to just remember that, okay, I'm going through this emotion. I'm going to be okay. I have to talk through it. I got to work through it. And life is not going to end, if it doesn't work out the way I want it to work out.
That's awesome.
It's this constant conversations, and we have to have those with our kids. Like, it's so important in order for them to be functioning people in society. It starts from when they are young, because I mean, I my office is based at an elementary school, so I see all the tantrums all day long. I have this little one who's in the stop room. We have in the elementary school, we have a stop room. So stop room is where, the kids go who are flipping over desks and, cursing out their t-shirts and, just off the chain. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
So they go
Tell us more.
Right.
Wow.
So, I have this little one who is, he's in the stop room like every day, because he just can't get it together, because he has anger issues. And his anger issues, the way he deals with it is by saying, you just want to kill me. You hate me. I just want to die. He's young. So in his mind, if I say this, then I'm going to get that attention of, oh my gosh, he wants to kill himself. Because when we as adults, I mean, especially my profession, if I hear I want to kill myself, so I have to call somebody to come and get you, because red flag, yeah. Ding, 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 ding. So I've had a conversation with him, and it's very important when kids use those terms to be very direct with them, no matter how young they are. So I asked him, I said, do you want to kill yourself? He said, no. I said, in any way, do you have a plan to harm or kill yourself? He said, no. I said, do you know what it means to kill yourself? He said, yes. I said, what does it mean? He was like, it means that I can't come back. I said, exactly. You can't come back after you do that. I said, so is that what you really want? He said, no, I was just angry. I said, sweetheart, that's okay. That's okay to be upset, but we have to find a different way to deal with your anger instead of using those words. It's having those conversations with our little ones. It's having those conversations even with our teenagers. Like, we have to talk. Like, communication is key.
It is.
And I'm gonna say, like, it's not only important to have these conversations with our little ones, but ourselves. Like,
Absolutely.
we have to give ourselves permission to be angry,
Absolutely.
And because I feel like the kids and young people, they look at you as a model. So if you're going through life as an adult, suppressing and not getting angry, and then that's what they're learning from you. They're absorbing,
Right.
So,
little sponges.
Yes, we need to tell ourselves, okay, Akila, I'm feeling angry. You can be angry as long as you're not harming yourself or someone else.
Right.
Scream into a pillow or do something to let it out.
Right. Exactly. Absolutely. I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, suppression and suppressing is the issue all around. You know what? I'm going to be the sad person, because we have to tie it up. There is a I know. Keela is be bouncing on this one, boy. Keela be bouncing on this one. We need to take Olivia back up. Olivia will have to come back on with us again.
Absolutely, for sure.
Because there's definitely I tell you, we just literally, and I always say this, the tip of the iceberg on this subject, and some really good things came out that we can share, and we definitely will share on our, on the podcast, and you'll see the blog too after. But definitely there is, there's a lot to unpack. But the basis of it, what I'm getting is that stop holding back, deal with it, and find trust. There's a few things. So trust is a big thing, as you said, rapport, being able to deal with it, not suppressing it or repressing, and just allowing it to flow and saying it's okay to feel this.
Right.
Let's work through it. Am I summarizing it right? Akira?
Absolutely.
You're spot on, Suze.
I'm spot on. Awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, as I said, we definitely could go on for probably another hour.
Yes.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, oh yeah, we can't. We'll have to do this again. Olivia, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It was such a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. Stay on for a second. We'll just, as I say, we'll bye to everyone else, and then we'll have a tie up a conversation. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll talk soon.
Bye.